Well, thank you all for joining today. My name is Harman Thind. I'm a product manager on the Windows Auto Patch team within the WSD org. However, I won't be talking about Windows Auto Patch. Chris just did that. I'll be talking more about Windows troubleshooting. So, raise of hands, who here has had to troubleshoot Windows?
Works perfectly every time.
That's what I want to hear. Perfect.
Let's have A for 2 months.
Yes, so I mean, we all know why we're here. Really, I'm hoping this to be a more open discussion, Q&A. Can share some of the things that we're thinking about, but our roadmap is ever changing, so can't give any specifics today, unfortunately. However, would love to get some more just dive into specific details around these key 4 areas. What are the top issues that you all are facing today with your end users? And see how that aligns with sort of the thinking that we're going through of what are we going to potentially prioritize. What are the workflows that you have, whether it's scripts, tools that we've built, tools that you have built that currently work for you? How are you leveraging Copilot or AI for some of the troubleshooting efforts that you're going through? How can we also help and build across the Windows ecosystem a more unified troubleshooting experience? And then number 3 and 4, especially for this group, I'm really curious to hear your feedback on if we are to develop, let's say, a system that can collect diagnostic data, provide a remediation, whether automated or even suggest a remediation, have that reporting come back to you as the IT admins. How much of that are you willing to, 1, automate, 2, trust, and then 3, how much of that do you want end users to actually see? So that's just to throw some questions up there now for you all to think through as we're having this discussion. But yeah, I mean, just to start off, feel free to just jump in at any point. What are some of the key things? Trying to see if there's a similar sort of area of issues that that you all are running into with Windows, or if it's very specific for each of you. So really curious to understand what are some of the top things you deal with day to day when you're out the door.
I mean, I'll say generally for us, it's just random Windows update failures and deciphering the codes and stuff. Most everything requires a call to support to figure out what's going on from those random codes.
Okay.
And even then, what could be the same issue affecting a large part of our fleet could be different error codes across all those, even if it's basically the same core issue. So there's no consistency on that. And also just to kind of jump into 2 and the others, obviously everything we need every time we contact support is TSS logs. And that's kind of a hard thing to transfer those scripts and directions down to our IT, down to the end user.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a more built-in method where I could say, have the user go into settings, go to system help, and click generate Microsoft support diagnostic kit or something, to just be able to have the user and our IT be able to just pre-go in, hit that button, and include those logs with our trouble ticket escalation process would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And
I would take it one step further. I just want a button in Intune. I pull up the device in Intune,
Yes.
and I just hit collect all the required logs. You pull it all in, package it up, and send it to whoever needs it.
I was gonna say, yeah, the next expansion of that would be if there was a way to, from the admin side, generate that from Intune. We don't have access to Intune, but if I could do that and then maybe have a way in Intune, once that log's generated, say, I approve you to connect it to this support case, so it can just go straight to the support engineer once that's gotten its way up into Intune and available to send over, just automate that flow end to end.
Would you, and so totally understand. So Windows Update,
Yeah.
Key issue there. Consistency around error reporting and also understanding more root cause of what caused that specific. But then the other one is the helping to sort of drive that troubleshooting, collect diagnostics, share that back out. On that last one, because there's an announcement coming at Ignite, so just future thinking of what we can build on in addition. And by the way, I am the PM on the learning remediation side for AutoPatch as well, so this is great feedback specifically. Would you also want to see more that just for any case, any devices that are impacted, automatic collection by default? Is that something you would turn on or not, and why?
I would. Yeah, we probably would. Yeah, I mean, that's actually something we're looking at building internally for our own custom built tools. It's just automatic collection on failure. I mean, we send a ton of metrics and other stuff up, so. I'd be a little bit wary depending on like the size of TSS logs. Those can be pretty big, so I don't know if I want to automatically be triggering 100, 200 meg uploads on every device. Because going back to Ruby's things, well, the cost, but also bandwidth at sites. We have sites out in the middle of nowhere, India, on a 20 meg DSL connection, if we're lucky. So if a bunch of devices try and upload 200 meg archives, they just took down that whole fulfillment center.
Yep.
So maybe if there could be some rules of, if I see an X% of failure, maybe start generating a percentage of devices, collect that log. I don't know if I'd want just every device automatically sending a full huge diagnostic log on every failure.
Yep.
It would be nice to just get summary data,
Yeah.
but even that comes with a cost, because right now, the current thing is uploading to Log Analytics.
Yeah.
Log Analytics.
I'm not even, if it's like the more TSS style diagnostic logs, I'm not so much interested in pulling that into like a log analytics, because that's more going to be for the support. So I guess maybe if the devices could automatically generate that and keep them locally and wait for a signal where I say, please upload this for me to collect. But that way it's already generated at the time of failure and just waiting for the signal to send that up if I want it.
Totally makes sense.
So it's our bandwidth, our biggest problem we've had in the like past 6-7 years I've been at Amazon, is just any hit to those WAN connections is immediate alarm to me.
Totally.
What would be nice is a button that you would get, and even if it does send a large payload that I ask for to Log Analytics, but have the Log Analytics do the analysis and say, I looked at these 20 megs of logs, and this is the thing that is important. So, you know, you want your Copilot, you're always looking for a place to employ Copilot.
Yep.
You know, I think the whole subject of automated uploading of that data, obviously, if you do that, there has to be a control in place, so you can say, hey, don't actually allow this, or maybe a policy to say on the set of devices, don't allow that.
Yeah.
So
So
like
want
for-
the VPs.
Well, for me, for example, I don't deal with a whole bunch of IP, but a friend of mine who babysits 90,000 devices works for a company that's, their business is IP. And so there are certain devices they have where they can say, hey, go ahead and allow that automatic upload data. There's other devices they have where if stuff got uploaded off that device and it got into the wrong hands, it would be devastating for them. But the one thing that stuck out about what Chase said is, if you're on a support case, I do a support case and I'm like, yeah, this thing doesn't work. And the first thing that I get is, hey, go run this, I forget what it's,
Yeah,
it's like Intune, one something scan tool that some PFE made way back in the day, and they just keep updating it.
It's always TSS log collector for me.
Yeah, something, they'll say, go collect these logs off of that device. And then I have to go find the freaking device or track down the user, God forbid, talk to the user
Yeah.
to pull logs off their device. And it's like, why can't I just say, go get the logs off of this device and then tell the Microsoft support rep, hey, it's there.
Yeah.
Or put in something where I could collect the logs myself and then manually type in a ticket number or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Like if I have a support case, grab a couple selected devices in my console, say, please collect this type of support log that the case told me to, and upload it to this support case number automatically. So that way, as soon as it gets up, it goes right into the case files and that engineer can look at it without me having to, without waiting for me. Because if that log comes, if I'm like grabbing a log from a device in India, I want that to just automatically get on the support case. So it's right there ready in the morning for that engineer when they get it, without having to wait for me to wake up, check my email and be like, oh, the log's there, let me pass it over.
And one example is like feature updates, trying to troubleshoot why a feature update won't apply to a device. I had a subset of like 100 devices, so all look kind of like the other. We're trying to figure out why these 100 devices wouldn't take feature update. But then I took it with Microsoft and then they want me to go manually pull logs off of the past.
Yeah.
I'm like, go away. I don't want to talk to that person. I don't want to have to figure out where that computer is. I don't want to have to figure out when they're available, and I don't want to have to try to remote onto it.
Oh yeah, I'm not even allowed to talk to our end customers. I have to like go put that in the ticket for IT support, who has to pass it down, wait for someone that's affected to call in. Hopefully that engineer has read the ticket and knows the directions, or that the user is not saying, well, I don't have time to do all this other stuff, just fix it and move on.
Yep.
So being able to just click from the console, say, I don't care, I'm pulling the logs off your computer, no involvement from anyone.
Well, and I see the issue a lot of times without the user even calling it.
Yeah.
I might be like, I don't like this, and
Yeah.
so I want to figure out what that is, but I don't want to bother the person using that computer.
So one of my things is, if I go into Intune, I can, see blue screens or app crashes, and I can sort them by device, type or various other things. But, I've had issues where like literally every single device is having this exact same app crash, and it is bubbling up in the reporting in Intune. But I feel like, shouldn't that somehow go to somebody to say, hey, this is a problem? Like, I have, however many devices, they're all of them having exactly the same app crash in the exact same scenario. And it's coming to my dashboard. How can I just like click something to say, send this to some Microsoft support, but I unfortunately don't have the time to chase this issue, repeatedly with Microsoft support, but like all the information sitting there that this is a broad problem, like just, allow me to push it up or automate, like we're seeing this issue across all these machines. Boy, we might want to look at that, and because my thing is like a driver, I'm going to use a very specific example. We have Surface Pro 9 devices. There was a driver update that caused the camera app to crash every time you took a picture. And like every single device, I talk to schools, every school I talk to, every single one, Windows Pro 9 running 24H2, the photos have crashed. And it was consistent. And like I just suffered through it until finally I spent the 2 months with Microsoft support. And they said, oh yeah, there's a driver update, but it was a driver update that just was never pushed out, because it's an OEM driver, it's not a Microsoft driver. They didn't release it. And literally like a week after I opened the case, they finally pushed out the driver update to fix this. But like you can go back through the Intune logs and see like this. And I know it's not just me. I know there's all the other schools that are also using Intune. It's like you keep seeing this app crash on this particular device. Like, how come nobody noticed this for like a year? Until I like took the time on myself to like push it through the channels to get it up through support.
Yep.
So that's where the proactive remediation, like I want proactive remediation for Microsoft of like, hey, it's coming in through our management tool. Do something with that information, because the other one was blue screens caused by a network driver, and like every device running this particular Realtek driver in a Teams meeting with blue screen, and it was like really broad, but it took me months of fighting people to get somebody to care enough to get it fixed. And I got it fixed through Lenovo, who hammered on Realtek, who finally uploaded a new driver to Wiggle, but it was like literally a months long process of me chasing people. And, and I'm a team of one, so I don't really have time to chase all these different support organizations to talk to each other.
Yep.
Microsoft is really skittish about that sort of monitoring of their tenants.
I
Because they can get into trouble for knowing certain things or knowing too much.
understand. Make it opt-in. I work with a bunch of 8th grade students. There's no proprietary information in their homework. I mean, they may think it is, but I don't think it is. But so even if they can opt-in, I understand forced telemetry, forced information gathering. But give me, I'll check the checkbox. I understand I'm giving you all this stuff, but as a result, that means you're going to look at my errors and maybe help,
Or help the world.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, I've got every single Surface Pro 9 fixed because I pushed to get this driver update pushed out, so.
Yeah. So I'm hearing a couple things, both on proactive and reactive remediation. On the reactive side, what I'm hearing is one, help demystify random errors that you're getting. Have a central location within Intune or something else where you can see across your tenant all the devices that are impacted by whether it's the latest update and there's some sort of error. What's that error? What's the remediation? What can you do? And if you can't fix it, how can you easily send those get that list of devices and the logs from those devices from support? Is on the reactive side is what I'm hearing. On proactive side, I'm hearing if we're seeing something that is going to cause an issue from other tenants, that may also impact your tenant based off of certain heuristics, inform you, one, and then two, if we can take action, with admin controls, putting those in place, do that. And then sort of give you more granular reporting in terms of, if there's specific issues that we're identifying, which update type is it going to be impacting, is the different things I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Did I
mean,
sum that up pretty well?
Yeah, I mean, also to go back to my question on the last session, I would actually love, like, if Microsoft is getting heuristics or otherwise seeing problems in my rings on the deployment of an update, I would like to be able to check a box and say, I give Microsoft permission to pause this ring if there's errors. Just because, like, that's the big thing right now is on our work, we're trying to figure out how do we pull the human out of having to monitor all of these notifications and metric graphs and other things to come up with the decision, do we need to pause or roll this back? It would be great to have some sort of automation of, we're seeing X amount of failures after this update installed. Please pause the update, notify us, so we can go click the rollback if we need, or if potentially we're seeing a hard blue screen and other stuff, maybe approve a rollback, automated rollback or something. We're just looking at how can we start automating things, get the person out of here and just come in to review that action. So it's like, oh, it paused, we saw these errors, go investigate it, and then, oh, no, don't have a problem with that, click on pause, let it continue or something like that.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah.
To have that toggle and auto patch to be able to say failure rate after this update looks like it's at this percentage, pause that, pull it, whatever.
Yeah. Or if we're seeing, like, even expand on that, because the other things they want to start doing it on is device performance metrics. Like, I installed the November patch. Did my average CPU usage go up by 10-20% after that? Okay, let's pause that. Investigate, was this affected by the update or anything? Like, we're trying to look at every single user experience metric. Are they seeing increased errors? Are they seeing slowdowns on their computer? Is certain applications crashing more? We're looking at every signal we can get. Can we use that to more intelligently pause and see the impact on our fleet?
Yeah, you could make Dex an add-on for Intune.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
The other one, and this may exist and I just don't know it, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but like the whole like blue screen recording and stuff, I know I can go in and look and see the blue screens that are recording and filter them by devices, but something where it says like, hey, 50% or whatever of your devices had blue screens, then they're all the same blue screen, and I can go look for that, but I don't feel like I'm pushed to that, or like alerted, like all of a sudden, all these devices all start having the same blue screen. Hey, maybe you want to look at, and again, not necessarily that Microsoft, but just alert me, like, because a lot of times my user, again, I work with kids and teachers, they just want to keep working. They don't, maybe that's the same for everybody, but, they won't come and tell me until like their machine is literally not working, So they may be suffering through this, that their machine is blue screening 2 or 3 times a day, and I just don't know because they're not taking the time to tell me. But that information is being recorded by Intune. So, somehow say like, okay, once we hit a 10% threshold or whatever it is of like all the devices of this model are having this exact same thing, throw up an alert to me, like say like, hey, this or they've increased or some metric, because if it happens once, fine, that was some cosmic ray. But after it happens repeatedly to the same model of devices, that's something that should be flagged.
That's actually something where I think an AI or agentic thing could be interesting if we see an increase of errors, if as part of the notification to me that this error has come, have AI review all of the specs, model, device, installed drivers, etc., and maybe try and tell me like, we're seeing this commonality between the computers having this problem. So I can just immediately see on that, oh, increase of errors for Windows Update on with this error, we're seeing it on this model, or we're seeing it with computers with this app installed, etc.
Yeah, we took a stab at, I'm not sure if any of you had a chance to try the feature. It was in public preview, I think last year, a year and a half ago, where we tried this exact thing, but in terms of actually providing concrete information, it was like, forget the name of the feature. But let's say there's increased blue screens after a certain release.
Right.
We were collecting that data, trying to show what your tenant compared to other customer tenants, how you're comparing in terms of how many issues you're seeing.
Yeah.
But there, we were missing the so what. What do you now do? How do we actually inform you properly so you can actually take action? So that feature was pulled, but totally in terms of the direction that you're all talking through. We have some things coming out at Ignite that'll help in terms of the overall update readiness for your tenant overall, addressing some of these key issues. Future things we are thinking through is how do we incorporate more AI or Copilot, whatever it may be, to improve the recommendations, remediations, those sorts of things. As you're saying, you're not a Microsoft team unless you're thinking about how do you throw Copilot into your feature. And so
The thing that is so ironic is the feature we're talking about where you do some installation, then you do some validation to figure out, am I seeing errors when my test rig hits this, throw up a flag. You did that in Microsoft 365 apps for the cloud update, and you just pulled it on September. You were doing that, and then you said, oh, we're not gonna do validation anymore. They no longer have a tenant to say, okay, I wanted you to do validation. You only get to go to my second ring if you get fewer than this percentage of errors. You had that, and then you took it away.
that I'm not aware of, but
Not you.
yeah,
but
yeah, no, not me. Yeah,
M365.
fine, yeah.
In Microsoft in general, it's like they did a good thing, and I was like trumping this up to our solution center guys saying, this is gold to help for our office updates, because it would say, hey, you see a lot of add-on problems. It pauses the updates.
Yep.
And then you stopped.
It's
Now,
no.
one thing I'll say about end user, I think anything that is potentially pushed back to the end user needs to be controllable or optional or something like that. Because, in some scenarios, the end user will simply be more confused by whatever, pop-up you say,
Yeah.
Hey, we need to click logs, click OK. Like, then they're gonna come, should I click OK? Is this a malware? Because, unfortunately, the pop-up from notifications for Edge that are malware versus the pop-ups from, Intune management tool are very similar in the little box that pops up in the bottom right-hand corner. And, so, yeah, I think it's good to build those end user experiences, but make them manageable by the admin as to whether you want to deploy them or not.
Fair.
Because in some instances, it'll just cause more, calls.
Yeah,
Totally.
our biggest thing is from senior leadership, they don't want the customers to know anything's happening. They don't want our users to know that we're collecting data, that we're troubleshooting something. They don't even really want to send impact notifications if they can avoid it. Like, they just want us to be fixing things silently in the background. And like our North Star goal right now is just reducing IT contacts. They want to be just silently managing the fleet and reduce all chances for contact, like either by pausing things before it impacts the customer or having some more automated remediations to be able to fix it.
So hot patch.
We can't do that, but. But we love. The funny part about Hot Patch is I'm torn because we are also kind of pushing to have users reboot more often. We've actually implemented a hey, your computer's been on for a week.
Yeah.
Maybe consider rebooting for some performance benefits. So I kind of look at the traditional non-hot patching style as well. That's a guaranteed reboot once a month to improve it. And we're very aggressive with our custom management agents that if your update's pending, your computer is going to be isolated off the network within days if you don't do that reboot. So we don't have that long period of waiting for the user to reboot anyways.
And for me, it's actually the Office update that I'm working.
Yeah.
Because that's forcing them to restart Word or Excel, which is the thing that they have 43 things open.
Yes.
And the Office updates, let's say their scheduled release is not as rigorous as the Windows updates. It seems to be kind of random when they release.
Oh, I
updates,
mean, well, we're on the monthly channel, so it's right with Patch Tuesday every month.
Right.
People with Copilot tend to go on the more frequent on schedule for Microsoft.
Well, they have to.
Well,
It's
we're
Sunday and
also-
Mondays.
Well, you have to
Well,
go
the
to,
current branch would be faster than most.
you go to either the current branch or the current branch preview if you're a co-pilot. Yeah, but if you're like CCP for co-pilot and you're trying to be on the leading edge of co-pilot, because co-pilot,
Oh, we let other people lead. Insurance companies, it's all about controlling risk. Why take that risk?
so an interesting conversation I had last week with was on a call with Lenovo and Intel, and we were talking about kind of proactive things that you can do or things you can do to optimize your experience with Windows.
Mhm.
One of the neat things that they'd actually told us about was Intel has a Intel battery health diagnostic tool, which doesn't diagnose your battery, it diagnoses what's running on Windows. It looks to see if there's something in the background of Windows that is causing it to not let that processor go into a lower state of power.
So your 5 security agents.
I only have 3.
Lucky you.
So it'll look and say, hey, is CrowdStrike going out and keeping your proc so live that it can't get down into that lower power state that allows like an Intel Lunar Lake is super awesome on battery. Is CrowdStrike staying just awake enough that it won't let Lunar Lake drop down into that lower power state or go to one of those lower power ports? They're looking at stats that are that deep out of that tool.
Mhm.
And they actually said CrowdStrike is honestly one of the better ones that allows your computer to go into that lower power state. So that example for them. But stuff like that would be cool to get telemetry on out of Windows or Intune or something, because if I can figure out why my battery doesn't last longer or why I can't have the better sleep state that I need to make that battery last longer when someone closes the lid and puts it in their backpack. Those are 2 things that are like direct user impacting, where we're starting to go from what went wrong to what can we do better.
Totally. Yeah, I mean, so it's okay.
Well, no, I was just, yeah, I mean, just along with the battery report, like imagine a report like highest power usage app or, something like, or, something like that, for some people, it's just going to be Edge or Chrome, but, there may be something that pops up and you're like, oh, why is this using so much power?
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of something that I would love for a feature. You might not be the right one, but if right now the efficiency mode for processes can only be triggered by the process itself, they have to put the code in, or the user can manually put them in Task Manager. Why can I, as an admin, not force any process into that? I would be able to throw out rules if this executable launches, throw it into efficiency mode.
Task manager thing of like lower the priority.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, you can right click and put it in eco mode.
Right,
That's what I'm talking about.
You want to do it from a policy standpoint.
Yeah, I want to do it from a policy or even just programmatically. Like, can I have one of my management agents check? Here's the running processes. I want these ones in low power mode or in the eco mode. So being able to programmatically manage efficiency mode on stuff would be great.
Yeah.
Because like right now, I'm waiting for all of my internal teams that build our tools to implement that 1 line of code to launch their stuff in efficiency mode, because we've seen users reporting great battery benefits from doing that. But I'm waiting on the development team to do that, who's critically understaffed and doesn't have time to implement and test all that. So if I could on my end start just programmatically forcing them into efficiency mode, I could see some great gains while I wait for that support from that team.
Okay, so outside of Windows Update, what I'm hearing is if there's slow to start PC performance issues,
Yeah.
battery issues, even Windows Update issues, or broader Windows troubleshooting issues, as administrators, if we have a way for some system to collect diagnostic data, root cause the issue, you would not want us to inform the end user like, hey, your PC is slow, go do this. You would prefer to have that surfaced in Intune or some admin center, give you controls in terms of go take this action, Microsoft, or always go take this action, and sort of programmatically via policy land the solutions on the remediation on the device. That's what I'm hearing so far.
Yeah.
Is the preferred.
Well, you look at Security Center for an example. You can go into security.microsoft.com if you're under customer and you get a recommendations tab. when you drill down.
Yep.
If you just had recommendations, like say there was a performance diagnostic troubleshooting center.
Yeah.
Or put in some existing painted glass, and then you have a way that you can go in and look at recommendations on how, kind of like how you can increase your secure score.
Yep.
How
Yeah.
can you increase your Windows is running how Microsoft thinks it should score?
Yeah, like, not to pull in one of the competitors, in AWS, we have, a bunch of online performance analyzers and right sizing and stuff that's looking at all of your lambdas and APIs and other stuff and saying, hey, we're seeing this lambda looks like it's hitting the memory limit. Do you want to increase that? Or it looks like this drive is, you have it spec this high, you could lower it. So having a similar thing that could look at all the different parts, performance, diagnostics, security, etc., and having just a dashboard that here's some recommendations, and if possible, like here's a one-click button to deploy that policy.
Mhm.
And there's some of that actually exists in Intune. There's, I forget what it's called. There's some score that like shows your performance score or something compared to similar tenants. There's there, it's like a little bar that it always yells at me because we're not using pure Entra machine. We use hybrid machines. It's, so I lose 20 points in every place. But it has this thing and it shows like, your boot time, I forget all the metrics, but there's something like that, and maybe just expanding that, to have some more
User experience.
yeah,
I will say on,
User experience have on each device.
right,
Yeah, it's
right,
like I have a score of 85.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
and I'll say on that, what we would maybe want on our end, because we're super careful about not wanting our data going elsewhere, ending up in even just randomized heuristic models and stuff. So if I could have that kind of score, but just against my own fleet, not against other tenants.
Yep.
But be able to say like, oh, hey, we're seeing this process, chime take up a lot of processor across all of yours, or just on these models or something, that just be able to then go to those applications, say, investigate.
And see that across like specific models, but also tenant-wide, fleet-wide.
Yeah, just, I mean, whatever data that you can use to kind of identify, is there a trend?
Yeah.
Like, okay, we're seeing an increase in this application CPU usage, but when we review all the heuristics data, okay, it looks like it's just this Dell model, or maybe this CPU, or oh, it's only high if you only have 16 gigs of RAM, but the 32 gigs aren't seeing it, or something
Totally.
like that.
Totally. I mean, so Windows Update is definitely top issue. Sounds
Yes.
like from across the board. I mean, what month over month, what are other common things that you all are spending quite a bit of time and just trying to understand what are existing tools that either Microsoft has, scripts, or what tools that you may have either third party or even you have created? What are some of those other top burning issues that you're seeing month
Device performance.
performance?
My hardware team is constantly looking at all the metrics and pulling in from all of our different tools, trying to create the user story of like who's having the better experience, who's got less memory pressure, who's got more CPU overhead, and what are the top talking apps and everything. And being able to just come up with a device performance score so they can either make recommendations of, do we need to go after this application team to fix something? Or like right now, we're with the data we have, we're moving our baseline RAM from 16 to 32 standard across the whole company.
Got it.
So it used to be like,
Microsoft will do that for a price.
oh,
They've unrolled the advanced endpoint analytics,
okay.
but it costs money.
Yes, I mean, we have money, but yeah, but it.
I want it for free.
I'm not saying free is a bad thing, but I mean, we're looking at like spending that money for advanced analytics, if that could then get us millions of dollars back on employee productivity, we make
It's
that
a great
trade-off.
trade. It's a great
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah, it's a great trade.
Employee productivity doesn't cost money.
Well, it makes your money spent more efficient.
So back to your question, things, I've talked about blue screen, but I've had several devices recently that weren't blue screening, but were spontaneously shutting off, and so, and I know, that's logged as, whatever, unexpected shutdown or something like that. So
Yeah.
something that would put back like, hey, this device has had multiple unexpected shutdowns, just so that I can maybe be proactive and go to that user and say, look, I see your machine's having lots of problems. Can we look at it? Because again, it's causing them problems, but it hasn't completely stopped them. So they're not taking the time to report, so it's those type of things of just like, this device is doing something a device shouldn't do, and I mean, it even could, maybe put into play, like, did it do this because it ran out of battery? Okay, fine. But if it had a battery or was a desktop, why is it doing, unexpected shutdowns multiple times a day?
You're gonna find out the users always hold the power button.
Well,
30
yeah,
seconds.
but it may not be able to answer the question of why, but
Yeah.
at least it can bubble it up, because again, those are uncommon log events.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be happening on a consistent basis.
Mhm.
If they are, that should throw a flag up,
Yeah.
and especially if it's happening on multiple devices of the same, model, or that have the same driver set, it's just looking for those commonalities of uncommon events,
Totally.
That's the thing where we have all this data, but presenting it in a fashion that can let us act upon it. And, because
Yeah.
99% of my fleet, fine, but that 1% that's
Yes.
having this weird problems, if I can go help those users and make them happy,
Yeah, because I mean, like, even just in an active troubleshooting case, like, we've been having Windows update issues for about 20,000 plus devices for the past 2 months, due to some stage file update problems. But how do we more quickly find the commonality on this so we can identify what are the affected devices? So, like, we see, okay, we have 20,000 devices doing an update failure signal. But what about the devices that haven't tried an update? How do I know which ones are going to have that failure based on the data of the ones we've already seen? So being able to more find that commonality in an active event, so we can narrow down our troubleshooting focus to, okay, we know that this is the commonality problem we can look at here.
Totally. Yeah, don't want to take any of the announcement fire away from what's coming in tonight, but definitely excited to hear some of the things that you all are sharing. And so stay tuned to some of the things coming out at Ignite. But even broader, I guess, as we're thinking through both commercial and consumer side, I think commercial, I'm definitely understanding more of the controls that you're all looking for from a reporting perspective. I would like to understand more, what is your expectation for on the end user side for, so proactive, totally hear the feedback. Don't surface issues to end users, surface that to admins, give you the control to land a remediation or create a support case or whatever it may be. How about the scenario if your users are, let's say, engaging with Copilot, or I guess, how are your users bringing up that there's an issue, whether it's performance, battery, updates, issues? Like, are they engaging directly with your support teams? Would you want them to have a separate angle with, like, say, Copilot chat or something where they can try to remediate themselves? Is that a complete no-go from your organizations? And it's completely owned end to end by your IT admins?
Yeah, right now, most of our stuff is bubbled up through support contacts or what metrics we can pull on our end. Copilot would be an absolute no. We have competing AI products, so we don't allow that on the end devices. What would be nice would be maybe in the security center or something that's built into the OS to be able to bubble up things. So maybe we have identified a problem on a fleet wide and we have our affected device set. Maybe then me as an admin can go in and push out a notification to that center on all those devices to say, hey, IT admin, this notification, we've identified this problem on your device. Maybe here's a ticket link or a wiki link or support article for more information, or here's your action to be able to fix this or something like that. To be able to just more proactively notify the user. Because, like, right now, if we want to proactively notify the user about a known issue, they have to go to the IT support website, start the chat, and the chat bot might say, oh, you're talking about the similar issue. Here's this active event that we're aware of. But if I could surface that down onto the user's device saying, hey, you don't need to contact support. We're aware of this issue on your device. We're working on it, or here's your remediation, to just push them off from that IT contact and maybe to an automated remediation or something like that.
Yeah, so I guess, so for example, like, there's I think it's in preview right now, it's called Employee Self-Service Agent. It's an M365, so something like that where it's aware of device-specific diagnostics or context from the device.
Or
Where you
maybe
can also,
me as an admin has said, okay, I created my device collection of affected devices.
Yep.
Push out this notification to them.
Totally. And then it's also aware of internal knowledge base for how to troubleshoot specific issues.
Yeah, and then even as an admin, I might say in my notification, here's the link to this, or if we can create if this computer is getting this error, link them to this article for troubleshooting.
Yeah.
Like,
Especially if you could leverage something that's already there. We've developed some sort of comfort amongst the user base with. So like we're getting people used to the idea of the company portal,
Mhm.
Microsoft company portal. So this could integrate into that, where it says, are you having a problem? Open your company portal and there's a help me troubleshoot button.
Mhm.
And there, and starts doing it without having to engage IT until it needs to engage IT.
Yeah. So
And then he has information for us that the end user doesn't know how to communicate or even look at.
and actually even expand on that, if we could also, in that similar company portal area, show the users maybe device performance or health score. Say like, okay, we're seeing your computer is getting higher CPU usage. Maybe here's some of our suggestions, or maybe that's a sign of, okay, your CPU usage is high, your computer is this many years old. Maybe have all right, here's a link to OpenIT to upgrade your computer.
Yep.
Go through a replacement process or something.
So-
Let's start self-servicing workflows into that.
totally. So then I'm also hearing then, so user comes in through some entry point. We've identified some issues, ran diagnostics on the device, provided a remediation steps that they can take up to a certain point that doesn't
Yeah.
require elevated actions. They
I mean,
perform that, fix
if
the
I
issue.
can, as an admin, create a script that will fix that issue and publish it to the user where they can click start and that elevates for them, all the better.
Perfect. But if that does not exist and we have some other potential remediation that might work and they've ran it and it's successful, you all in general would be happy with that, but would
Yeah.
wanting to get that report back of what was the device?
Yeah.
What was the before and after state? What
Yeah,
remediation
so
was
obviously if
run?
I set up automated remediations and all of a sudden there's a spike in the fleet where like, okay, we were seeing 5 devices a day do this remediation, then all of a sudden, okay, now we're seeing 30
Mhm.
run this remediation. I would definitely as an admin want to know that that's happening so I can investigate why is there this sudden increase in the use of this remediation.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's super helpful. Yeah, really, as we're thinking through the roadmap on what are the various scenarios that we want to go after. The other part is definitely like how much of the information or how much of the troubleshooting do we put in the hands of the admin? How much do we do proactively? And also how do we build that trust with the admins of here's the tools and diagnostics and remediations that we have in our tool set, if you will. How do we build that trust that yes, Microsoft, go run this automatically for me? So that's definitely one that you'll probably hear from me more and more again as we work through this. But in terms of, completely aligned on getting that reporting out on just and then and the controls out for admins to see what's currently going on in the fleet, and then what are some suggestions, or at least how can you control those remediations going out, certainly in scope. Yeah, that's helpful. How we doing on time?
Good, another 7-10 minutes, yeah, around 12:30 is when lunch is supposed to arrive, so it's.
Any other top of mind burning issues? Yeah.
I've got a loaded question
Sure.
slash ask. So back in the day, you used to be able to get like a Microsoft PFD engagement for config manager client health. And they would come in and look at your environment and say, hey, your client health sucks. Here's how you can improve it.
Risk assessment.
It's a little bit better in Intune now, but I still see clients where I know that they're live and out there, but in Intune, they're dead to the world. Is there anything out there that's automated that we can use that kind of would give us a feel for like, hey, these devices are all live, but we're not managing that Intune? Or is there something that can fix Intune clients when they're not working right? Because if there is, you guys can kill an entire market segment. Like there's companies that have tools that go out and make sure that you're in good health. But we don't
I
want to
guess
buy.
I'll echo that. Yeah, I mean, I have, again, I'm small, but I have devices that I know are functioning, that the kids using it in class, but like it hasn't, you know, in Intune, it's like it hasn't been seen in 30 days.
Uh-huh.
So like what has happened to this device that it appears to be totally functioning from a user standpoint, but is totally not functioning from a management standpoint, you know, and then how do I, what do I do on that device to like kickstart Intune or, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it's like, it hasn't been rebooted, because some of them are like literally 60 days where the device hasn't checked in. I know the kid's using it in class and it's working perfectly fine for them, but so either it maybe hasn't installed Windows updates or it hasn't rebooted, or it's just not, somehow the agent has fallen off the earth, and like, what do I do to fix that? And I don't think I can do it remotely because it's not checking in. So I have to go touch that machine,
So one thing we do for some of our internal management apps is we have a Guardian service that installs with it. And that service is part of that management agent, but it's separate. The Guardian service talks to a completely separate backend software stack. It's got its own separate management agent, but it's very simple. Its only job is to monitor the other thing. And if that primary management agent breaks, it can reinstall or remediate it, or I can push down potentially some simple extra scripts or something to help that. So if potentially you had an Intune Guardian service, that could just monitor the Intune connection for that device. And if it sees a problem of it's not been communicating for 30, 60 days, surface that up to a report to me so I can still have visibility into those devices, but also be able to push out some simple remediations potentially for that.
Fix it.
Yeah, bring back Microsoft Fix It.
Please no.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Intune has built in that regard. I mean, for the auto patch side, of course, you'll get reporting in terms of the device hasn't, like, if we don't know the compliance state, device hasn't checked in with Intune. We can inform you of that, of why we don't
and
have
that might be a normal thing because maybe that device was decommissioned, reimaged, or whatever. But being able to then confirm that with a wholly separate agent that I know doesn't rely on that initial Intune connection, it can monitor separately. So if Intune's down or the connection or anything like that, this is potentially still working.
Yeah, more root cause too, like is the person just on vacation, or is there some other underlying issue that's causing the connection?
If I see like the Intune connection drops and the health agent drops, then okay, that's either an offline or reimaged or decommissioned device potentially.
That's us. We're trying to develop something. We're kind of a mix between a hybrid join and good mark cloud data. But we're trying to internally develop something where we can have it check Active Directory, check Enter ID, check Intune, check Defender, basically check everywhere we can possibly think of to see if that device is alive. And then give us some sort of view that shows, well, we see signs of life, but this tool and this tool don't see that device anymore. And that's a huge gap for us. Because if we can't manage it, it's bad. I can do a conditional access policy to say, hey, make that device a living hell for whoever's using it. And then eventually it'll find its way back to you. But to be able to actually fix it would be a whole other story. Or to get better visibility.
We kind of just do the who watches the watcher with our trifecta. So config manager installs Tanium and our management agent installs Tanium and config manager Tanium installs config manager agent. So just that there's always a circular watcher of everything keeping each other alive, but we want to reduce those number of agents as we go along. So we're not going to be able to have that full coverage as we go.
Awesome. Any other last minute feedback, anything on other top burning issues? Otherwise we can ramp down. Is there anything in chat?
One just came in and says, is Azure Monitor recommended for monitoring and automated remediation?
I don't particularly have. Steve, do you want to? The answer is no from the back of the room.
Server software.
Exactly, it's server software. Can you use it? Yes, but it's designed for your computer or your OS to always be on and off. It's always been, so if you go back to the history of the Azure monitoring pages, you SCOG and FOG. Does it work on Fine OS? Yes, but you always end up with a lot of additional points because it's not tuned for Fine OS. So that's why I'm a proponent of no, because you end up with a lot more information than what you need.
Yep.
There are scenarios where there is value, you need regulatory requirements to capture additional event logs and insights from there. But again, there's costs associated with growing this. Not free, it's dollars, and you need to have a very good use case to apply it. And it's not going to do the performance looking at it.
The only other thing in there in the chat, there's a bit of the conversation on things we've been talking about. A lot of them are part of decks, right? In some way or another digital experience. I do think, right, there's a ton of data collected that you guys could probably do more trend analysis and recommendations on it. You know, I wouldn't say eliminates the decks, but certainly for those that can't afford or don't want to pay for a decks, you probably have a lot of data from a reactive perspective. Others.
Yep.
100%.
Just start looking at your competition and seeing what they can offer. Like control up is what we use just because we can't squeeze what we need out of Intune. And that does a lot of these things, like show me a list of machines, give me and show me what their score is. Score is what's their Wi-Fi strength, what's the CPU utilization, what sort of problems do they have on that machine, and it bubbles up to a score of like 9.9 as opposed to someone else who might have a 4, and our solution center team can just sort by score and say, what's going on with that machine? And they do.
Yeah, our wireless teams actually do a lot of that similar stuff. We send all the signal strengths and connected AP and all the other stuff, and they monitor that across all the buildings to try and optimize their network setups and everything.
Because it'll even tell me that, hey, do you know this person's connecting from this place in the world?
Yeah.
They're Microsoft right now. And this is what their signal strength is. And maybe they should tell Microsoft they need to get a better Wi-Fi.
They can try to tell us we need better Wi-Fi.
Trying to pump your head.
Yeah, that doesn't mean that it's working.
I see a light.
Yeah, it is Aruba.
I'm not saying anything about that.
But you know, even like the client health or things, I mean, you would think just within Microsoft, if you're talking cloud native, you've got Intra, you ought to be able to easily do some things between Intra and Intune to make that more visible of,
Yeah.
You got these systems that are authenticating, but they're dead.
I mean, it brings up the whole topic though, that if you get mad at inactive devices and delete them out of Intune, getting them back in Intune is slightly less than easy. There isn't like an easy way to just say, hey, I'm gonna make this custom installer that has some secret app where I can go have that run via, if you're hybrid on, like have that run via group policy if it detects it's not an Intune. Some fallback like that. Like I can't just do that. Like I have to actually intervene to get it to come back into Intune.
Yeah.
And that's annoying, to say the least.
True.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. Appreciate